What happens when a Hollywood legend faces a host who knows no boundaries? This moment on the Oprah Winfrey Show became one of those rare events that left the audience stunned and flooded social media with viral clips. Willem Dafoe, an actor renowned for his depth and charisma, appeared on the show to promote his new film. But no one was prepared for what happened next. This is a story about dignity, boundaries, and the strength to stay true to oneself. The studio of the Oprah Winfrey Show is bathed in the glow of spotlights. The live audience buzzes with anticipation, and the air hums with excitement. Behind the stage, a large screen flashes clips from Willem Dafoe's new film, a psychological drama that has already earned critical acclaim. The sound of applause swells as Oprah Winfrey, flashing her signature warm smile, announces, "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the legendary Willem Dafoe." Dafoe strides onto the stage, dressed in a simple yet elegant navy suit. His movements are confident but restrained, his eyes deep and piercing, as if he's already sizing up every corner of the studio. He shakes Oprah's hand, exchanges brief pleasantries, and settles into the plush chair across from her. The audience erupts in cheers, and Oprah, ever the master at warming up a crowd, says, "Willem, you know how much we love you here. Your new film is incredible. Tell us about it." Dafoe nods, his voice low and measured. "It's a story about human limits, about how we wrestle with our inner demons. I love projects that make you think." His words are sincere, and the audience listens attentively, nodding along. Cameras glide through the studio, capturing smiling faces in the crowd. The atmosphere feels warm, almost intimate, classic Oprah, creating the illusion of closeness even in a live broadcast. But there's a glint in her eyes, a subtle spark hinting at something unexpected. "This is going to be interesting," one of the producers whispers into an operator's earpiece, and the camera trembles slightly, as if sensing that the friendly vibe is about to shift. Oprah leans forward, her smile sharpening. "Willem, your film really does make people think. But I want to dive deeper. You play such complex, often dark characters. Some say you immerse yourself too deeply in these roles. Some even think you use acting to escape the real world. What do you say to that?" The audience falls silent. The only sounds in the studio are the faint hum of cameras and the click of an assistant's heels as she hurries to the production booth. Dafoe raises an eyebrow slightly, his face calm but with a flicker of tension in the corners of his eyes. "I don't escape reality," he says, choosing his words carefully. "Acting is a way to explore human nature, its deepest corners. It's not an escape, it's a dive inward." Oprah nods, but her tone sharpens. "Interesting that you say that. But there's a view that actors of your caliber, and I say this with respect, Willem, sometimes hide behind roles to avoid responsibility for the real world. For example, you rarely speak out on political or social issues. Why is that? Is it a conscious choice or just indifference?" Her words land like a stone in still water. The audience gasps. The studio feels frozen, save for the soft whir of cameras and the rustle of nervous movement. Leah, a co-host sitting nearby, shifts uncomfortably in her chair, glancing at Oprah as if pleading for her to stop. But Oprah presses on. Her eyes lock onto Dafoe's, her smile now almost a challenge. Dafoe clenches his fists on his knees, but his voice remains steady. "I don't think every actor has to be an activist. My job is to tell stories that make people think, feel, and question. I'm not hiding, Oprah. I'm doing what I do best." The audience begins to murmur, divided. Some nod in support of Dafoe, while others whisper to their neighbors that Oprah has a point. A camera catches an older woman in the front row clutching her purse, as if bracing for the tension to explode. Behind the scenes, producers exchange nervous glances, one muttering, "This is going too far." Oprah, undeterred, presses further. She leans back in her chair, crossing her arms. "But Willem, doesn't it seem that in times like these, wars, crises, inequality, staying on the sidelines, just telling stories, is a bit irresponsible? People expect more from someone like you. Why not use your platform to say something meaningful?" The silence in the studio grows oppressive. Even the cameras seem to hold their breath. Leah tries to intervene again. You know, Oprah, I think Willem's right. Art itself can be a powerful tool. But Oprah cuts her off with a gesture, her gaze fixed on Dafoe. The cameras zoom in on his face. His jaw is tight, his eyes blazing, but he still holds himself together. I say what I think matters through my work, Dafoe replies, his voice growing deeper, almost menacing. I don't shout from every corner because I believe art speaks louder than slogans. You accuse me of indifference, but isn't it worse to use a platform to tear others down instead of having a real conversation? The audience erupts, some clap, some shout support, others whisper that Oprah's gone too far. The camera pans to a young woman in the crowd, her eyes wide with shock. A producer hisses into an earpiece. Get a close-up of him. This is gold. But the studio is descending into chaos. Leah tries to speak, but her voice is drowned out, and security near the entrance begins to move closer to the stage. The studio of the Oprah Winfrey Show is frozen in tense silence, broken only by the faint hum of cameras and the hushed whispers of the audience. Willem Dafoe sits in his chair, his gaze locked on Oprah Winfrey, who has just challenged him, accusing him of avoiding tough real-world issues. Her words hang in the air like a gauntlet thrown down, and everyone in the studio senses that the line between an interview and a personal confrontation is about to be crossed. Oprah, sensing the tension, decides to pour fuel on the fire. She leans forward, her voice softening but laced with sarcasm. Willem, I respect your work, truly. But let's be honest. You play heroes who fight the world, but in real life, you shy away from the fight. For example, why have we never heard your stance on the social justice movement? Are you afraid of offending someone, or do you just want to protect your image? The audience gasps audibly. A woman in the third row covers her mouth, and the man next to her quickly pulls out his phone to start recording. Leah, the co-host, tries again to intervene. Oprah, maybe we could go back to the film? I'm sure Willem has more to say about his role. But her words are lost in the rising tension, like a storm gathering strength. Behind the scenes, producers exchange panicked looks, one whispering into an earpiece. This is getting out of hand. Get security ready. Dafoe slowly leans back in his chair, his fingers gripping the armrests so tightly that his knuckles turn white. His face remains calm, but his eyes burn with intensity. Oprah, he begins, his voice low and measured but carrying a clear edge of anger. I don't shy away from fights. I just believe not every fight needs a megaphone. You say I'm silent? My work speaks for me. My roles tell stories of people who suffer, struggle, and search for truth. You think that doesn't matter? The audience bursts into applause, but Oprah raises a hand, demanding silence. Her smile turns cold. Those are nice words, Willem. But people want to see a real stance. You can't hide behind characters forever. For example, she pauses, as if selecting the sharpest knife. Why have you never spoken about your support or criticism of movements like #MeToo or Black Lives Matter? Those aren't just roles, they're reality. The silence in the studio becomes suffocating. Even the cameras seem to freeze, and the operators hesitate to move. Leah lowers her eyes, her cheeks flushing with discomfort. Dafoe takes a slow breath, his jaw tightening, and when he speaks, his voice trembles with restrained emotion. You want to know why I don't shout about it from every corner? Because I believe in actions, not loud statements. I support people who fight, through my work, through charity, through private conversations. But I won't dance to your tune, Oprah, to prove my righteousness. You accuse me of silence, but aren't you the one using this stage to tear me down for ratings? Dafoe's words hit like thunder. The audience erupts, some clap, some shout encouragement, others whisper that Oprah crossed the line. A camera captures a young girl in the audience clutching her hands, her eyes glistening with tears. A producer yells into an earpiece. Get his close-up. This is gold. But the studio is descending into chaos. Leah tries to say something, but her voice is drowned out, and security at the entrance starts moving toward the stage. Oprah, sensing she's losing control, stands abruptly from her chair, holding the microphone closer to her mouth. Willem, I'm not trying to tear you down. I just want the truth. The people in this audience. She gestures to the crowd. And the millions watching at home deserve to know who you really are. You say your actions speak for you? Then why don't we see them? Why do you hide behind your actor's mask? That was the final straw. Dafoe rises slowly from his chair, his movements calm but radiating a strength impossible to ignore. The studio falls silent, as if even the cameras are holding their breath. He looks directly at Oprah, his eyes blazing, but his voice remains steady, almost icy. Oprah, I came here to talk about art, about a story I want to share with the world. But you chose to turn this into a circus. You want the truth? Here it is. I don't play your games. I won't justify myself to you or anyone else for how I live my life or do my work. Art is my stance. And if you don't understand that, that's your problem, not mine. The audience explodes in applause, but Dafoe ignores it. He turns his back to Oprah, removes the microphone from his jacket, and tosses it onto the chair. The sound of the mic hitting the leather rings out like a gunshot in the live broadcast. Then, without looking back, he strides toward the exit. His steps are measured but resolute, the click of his shoes on the floor echoing in the stunned silence that follows the applause. Oprah stands frozen, clutching her microphone, her face a mix of shock and anger. She tries to have the last word. Willem, we're not done. Come back, let's talk. But he doesn't stop. The door slams behind him, and the studio descends into chaos. Some audience members cheer, others shout, and a few are already uploading videos online with captions like, Willem Dafoe just destroyed Oprah. Leah, scrambling to salvage the situation, turns to the audience. Let's take a quick commercial break, okay? But her voice trembles, and the producers behind the scenes are already yelling at each other, trying to figure out how to handle this viral moment. As Dafoe disappears backstage, the studio remains in a state of shock for several seconds. The audience is divided. Some shout support for Dafoe, while others murmur that he was too harsh. Oprah, trying to regain control, sits back down and forces a smile. Well, that was unexpected, she says, managing a laugh. But that's live TV, right? Her words do little to mask the tension. Cameras capture audience members' faces. An older woman in the front row wipes away tears, while a young man next to her frantically scrolls through his phone, posting the video online. Social media is already exploding. Clips of Dafoe's speech and exit are racking up thousands of views in minutes, with hashtag Dafoe vs. Oprah trending worldwide. The producers, in a panic, scramble to decide how to wrap up the broadcast. One yells into an earpiece, "Get Leah back on the mic. We need to close the show." But the moment has already gone viral, and the world is buzzing about how Willem Dafoe left Oprah Winfrey speechless. The next day, the clash between Dafoe and Oprah dominates headlines. Some outlets praise Dafoe for his dignity and defense of art as a form of impact, while others criticize him for dodging accountability. Social media is ablaze with debates. Some support Dafoe, arguing that Oprah crossed the line, while others believe he should have stayed and continued the conversation. Clips of his speech and exit garner millions of views, and memes with captions like, "When Willem Dafoe said enough," flood the internet. Oprah issues a statement, claiming her goal was to spark an honest conversation. But many see it as a weak attempt to save face. Dafoe, true to form, remains silent, his refusal to comment only fueling the fire of discussion. This moment has gone down in television history as a testament to standing up for one's principles, even under the world's scrutiny. But who was right in this conflict? Did Dafoe do the right thing by walking out? Did Oprah have a point in asking such pointed questions? Share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to catch more stories like this.